Well, good evening. It's late at my home, so I'm only going to be on potentially a maximum of an hour and a half. But we're going to see how far we can get in this game. So this is my solo adventure of Forbidden Lands. So I had a test broadcast where I discussed many things in the basis of this. It's very easy to go online, go onto YouTube, and see other people who have solo played Forbidden Lands. Now, Forbidden Lands is almost by its nature a very well designed RPG by Free League that almost is designed to be played solo if you need to. Now, question one is, why am I playing a solo game? Obviously, the reason for that is that my time is not my own. My own. My time is very limited when I can play games. I work very hard, get up very early, go to sleep early, and I can't schedule good games, actual games. Hold on a second. Let me close this. That's fine. There we go. So we're in the chat. I have the chat up on the side. So I've got multiple screens. So if you see me looking to the side, if you see me looking up, that's what it is that's happening. Now, I've set it up so that when I'm playing the game, my actual Foundry interface, my Forge interface, is front and center. So you see me reacting to the game. Now, I've set up a number of items here that I can turn on and off. I've got my camera, I've got my logo, I've got my roll window, which will be here on the side, and that roll window matches up here. My plan is that I'm eventually going to, I'm going to close the roll window, that I'm eventually going to have a secondary camera off to the side that points to a tray. So that you can see me roll physical dice, you can see me do card draws and things of that nature. I have all the nice goos and gims and bobs and bits that came with the Free League kind of deluxe box for the game. I have Ravens Purge, I have the Bitter Reach, I have the third one, Blood something is what it's called. Now, I'm rehashing some of the information that I've already shared in my test stream, but I'm using the solo expansion. Let me get to this, the solo expansion. Boop. Let me get to the introduction. The solo expansion was created by Matt Kay. Now, Matt Kay is the individual who wrote the actual rules within the Book of Beasts for solo play within Forbidden Lands. Now, within those rules, they were limited. He had a limited page count and word count that he was given to create those rules. Since then, in the iterations of Forbidden Lands that have taken place, he has revised those rules. It's not significant changes, but they are needed changes. They add a bit of nuance that wasn't in the initial solo rules, that give your day-to-day traveling activities more oomph, so to speak. So I like it. I'm going to use them. I created a solo character as my main protagonist, and he does have a companion. My main character is Aramis. He is a sorcerer. He's got very decent stats, and his companion is a female goblin rogue named Solga. Now, using the companion rules, Solga has no talents, not even a kin talent, but they do have many skills. But their primary role is to be a support character for my character. So their primary activity is going to be to aid Aramis in everything that happens. They're going to be the background person leading the horse, rah-rah, sis boom ba in the background. Having said that, that means the enemies will primarily focus on Aramis if it makes sense in the storyline. So that is what we're taking away from that. Alright. I've added the module Simple Calendar to the game, and I've programmed it up, and that you saw how the programming was done in my test 01 stream. So if you want to look at my streaming games, you can go over there and take a look at that. So I have it set up so it tracks the calendars, that it tracks the days of the week, etc., etc. It is not linked to time. So time in the game, as in hours and minutes of real time, will not affect the calendar. I will set the day every time I come into the game, pass the day as I play. The day, of course, does have its 4 segments in it, which we will talk about in a minute. Let me see if I can... Time settings. Let's see. Game seconds, update frequency, show clock, interesting. Moon setting, general settings. Alright, I'm not going to worry about it. So we're going to close this. I thought there was an option to where it showed sort of the segments of the day, but apparently not. So if I do day here, yeah, very good. And I can restrict that down to a different setting if I want to. Alright. So that's what we have here. Now, I do have sort of a little story in the back of my mind for my character, but I'm not going to bore anybody with that story right now. And I'm not boring you with character creation. We're sort of going straight into the game. Now, having said that, just so you know, I attempted to read as little as possible as it relates to the Game Master section and the Ravens Purge book and the special encounters that are listed within that. So they will be as much a surprise to you as they will be to me. Now, having said that, obviously when I have an encounter, I may have to read it in order to set it up and determine what's going on, right, and what will happen. And that's where we have the oracle for the game that will add some yes-no responses, weighted responses, will help guide my decision, as well as the character's specific bio in regards to their pride and their dark secret. So those items will also inform the decisions I make during the game. So we'll keep that in mind. Alright, so having said that, we're going to open up our little calendar right here. We're going to open up our map. So let me zoom in on the map here. Now, in my background, I determined that the Fields of Margelda is where my character currently is starting. And with that knowledge, how I met my companion, Solga, is I was ambushed. Whatever group I was traveling with, maybe it was the military I was formerly enlisted in, my small group was ambushed, and they were basically wiped out, except for me. Somebody rescued me at the last minute, some stranger, Solga. In fact, we're gonna edit this, right? You were rescued at the last minute by Solga, not some strangers. Who brought you to safety, and we've been friends ever since. Alright, so that's how I met Solga. Solga doubts my magical abilities. The Fool. So that's my relationship with Solga. Solga does not get a relationship with me, unfortunately, because she's just a companion. She follows me kind of at whim. I don't know if the game will create a scenario in which case my companion will leave me, so we'll find that out, alright, together, as we play the game. Alright, in her bio, in her notes, she was a child of the woods. Grew up in the woods and the forest during the Red Mist years. Her formative year as a young was that she had a successful heist. She earned a chunk. She came away with a cabinet which she sold for 21 silver. The additional formative year was that she was part of a band of robbers. Now, this is sort of, with her background and my background, what I'm seeing is that Solga was not happy being part of a band of robbers. When she saw the massacre of my friends, the party that I was with, maybe my acquaintances, not family or anything of that nature, when they were slaughtered, Solga had a change of heart. And she saw that I was left alive. Potentially the other robbers that were with her, it was sort of a mutual massacre, but I was unconscious by that point. She rescued me, drugged me away from that horrible, horrible fight, the slaughter. Perhaps some of her old robber companions were left alive, but she gave them the slip. And she protected me, nursed me back to life, and we have now become fast friends after that event. Now, if you're unaware of Forbidden Lands and what the general background of it is that there is something called the Blood Mist, and it's been going on for about 300 years. Now, I have not read all the history. Don't know all the history. Maybe I'll have to read it to get more informed to make sure that I'm not making a big mistake when it comes to certain things. But from what I've learned in the Player's Handbook, which I read all of, the Blood Mist has been around for about 300 years. And only within the last 3 years has the Blood Mist waned. What the Blood Mist did was that if you ventured more than 10 kilometers from your home and night came about and the Blood Mist rose, you died. That was it. So nobody ventured forth from their home for the last 300 years. Doesn't matter if you're an elf, doesn't matter if you're a dwarf, doesn't matter if you're anybody. Nobody ventured forth. Finally, the Blood Mist subsided, and those who have always had that deep ingrained wanderlust have decided now's their chance. And that's when people have struck out again to explore the world and see what's going on. Now, based on my... there we go. Sorry, let me go to my journal. Based on my journal, I got a legend. Maybe Solga told me this legend. Regardless, we have a legend. We learned that a long time ago, during the Alder War, 345 years in the past, there was a wise king who sought an enemy because of a promise and traveled to a cave located close by in a forest in the direction of north. As legend goes, it is said that he was enchanted and that at the location there is gold. Lots of gold, but also aggressive wolfkin. Now, I rolled up the initial weather, etc. I'm going to redo this for this first point in the game. So let me close this. I'm going to shut off my camera for a second while I go get my Googas that go with this game. So I'll be right back. You'll hear me rummaging around unless I mute the microphone. I don't know why I've had my headphone all this time. I'm not listening to myself. So you seeing me wear a headset, I look like a moron. So I've taken the headset off. Let me turn my camera back on. There we go. So now let's take a look at what I got. So I have obviously the Forbidden Lands cards that came with the game. I need to open those up. I need to open up everything. Might as well open them up on the screen when we're all here. Make this an opening video at the same time. So this comes with the 22 artifact cards, 8 mount cards, 14 combat cards, 10 initiative cards, and 1 reference card. So what it does not come with, which I need, is a standard deck of cards. So this will give me items that I can use in the game, but for now it's doing nothing. I thought this was an actual deck of cards as well. I'm just going to set that to the side for the moment. We will need the initiative cards if and when it comes to it. I'm opening up the Book of Beasts, just so I have that open. Not that I'm going to refer to it, because I tend to refer to the PDFs as I do things, and I'll try and maybe even use the online items within it to take a look at it. Now, I also have the Game Master screen, the Forbidden Lands character sheets, which I'm not going to use. Not going to use the Game Master screen. Not necessary. I'm just going to set those to the side as well. Alright, what I also have is the dice that comes with the game. So let me take a look at these dice here, which are very nice. And you'll see that there are 3 distinct categories of dice in here. And they're mostly 6-sided. So let me explain to you how the dice work fairly simply. Alright, so you have 3 sets of dice, 3 different colors of dice in the game. Alright, you've got red, white, and black. And you also have a D8, a D10, and a D12. Now the white, red, and black dice, of which I do not have enough, I'll probably need to get an additional set of dice to go with this. I'm going to throw these items away. What it is the white dice represent your stats. So let me open up your character sheet, open up the character sheet. And in main, you have your attributes. So the white dice represent your attributes, of which I don't have a 5th die for my wits right now. So I'm probably going to have to delve into my own bag of dice if and when we get to this. I'll probably use the online dice roller until I get those additional dice and that camera. The second item is your skill dice, and those are the red dice. All right, and those represent the skills you have here. So if I were to roll melee, I would have 3 strength and 1 skill dice. So that would be 3 white dice, 1 red die. Okay, is what I would roll to execute that roll. Now the last set of dice are the black dice, and the black dice represent equipment. And I may have the red and black swapped, but I believe I have it correct. The black dice represent the equipment bonus you also get. So my longsword, which I have, has a bonus if I show here, and then I show my roll window right here, and we go here, and we go to the bottom. Boink! The longsword has a bonus of 2 and a damage of 2. And what that means is that it adds 2 equipment dice to my roll. Now, there's many things that happen when you make a roll. The primary function of a roll in Forbidden Lands is that you need a 6. At least 1 6 to succeed. When you make a roll, and in fact I'm just going to do it on the screen so you guys can follow along. We're going to go to combat, and we're going to go do my longsword right here. So I have 3 strength, 1 melee, and 2 longsword skill dice. And I have no modifiers is what we're going to say, and I'm going to roll it, right? So we'll see our roll right here, right? And there's my 1 skill, there's my dice right there. Now in the window we can only see what it gave us. If I click this, we can see the breakdown of the dice. And what I'm going to do, let me modify this window. It's properties, it's crop top, I'm going to reduce down to 500, I think, because we need to see more of it. So we're going to hit OK, because you need to be able to see this breakdown. Now, when you roll the dice, you need 6s to succeed. I rolled 0 6s, so this attack against an enemy had no success. And a longsword, by its base, does 2 damage in hand-to-hand combat. I would have chose a method of attack, swing, stab, right? Because you need to determine how you attack also informs how the enemies can resist your attack. So that's important. It also has the special characteristic of heavy, and what heavy means is that I can use my minor action to prepare to do a large swing, which will add additional damage if I'm successful on my attack. Now, having said that, my strength dice came up 1, 1, 3, melee came up 5, longsword came up 2 and 5. Now, all these dice are important. Melee, whatever the die result, if it's a 6, it adds to the successes, which means I succeeded. A 1 means nothing. Okay? Longsword, same thing. If a 6 comes up here, it adds to my successes. All good. If I roll a 1 on my equipment dice, every 1 that shows up here, if I push, and I'll explain push in a second, damages my longsword's capacity, its capability. It currently gives me 2 bonus dice. every one that would have resulted on a push reduces that bonus. And when that bonus goes to 0, my weapon is non-functional. It's been damaged beyond use, basically, and I'll need to repair it. All right. Now, the important one is your stat. Now, currently I have 2 failures and a nothing. I have no successes. I can choose to push this roll, and you can push every roll 1 time. When you push it, you pick up all the dice except for the ones in your skill. Okay? In your stat. Right here, strength, right now. Okay? If I push this roll, it's going to pick up the 3, the 5, the 2, and the 5, and it's going to re-roll those dice. But I'm going to be stuck with these 2 ones, which will damage my strength by 2 points. It's bad. I would not push this roll, ever. Okay? You only primarily want to push a roll when you have 1 showing and no successes, if it's literally life or death, right? This is the last chance to survive whatever the encounter is. I gotta re-roll. Yeah, I'm gonna damage my strength, but I'm re-rolling. When you damage your attributes, that's how you take damage in this game. Strength down to 0 puts you basically dying, or it knocks you out of the fight. Agility, I think, immobilizes you. Wits means you're unconscious, and empathy means you have no remorse at the moment. I don't want to say no remorse because I don't become a bloodthirsty killer. You just have no empathy at all. There are definitions in the game that explain that, but for now, that's just the general. But for this example, I'm going to re-roll this. Now, the flip side of this coin is every 1 that comes up on your attribute that you push also become willpower. And willpower is how special options are unlocked for your character. You can use it to auto-succeed at a task. You can use it to cast your spells, which is basically the only way you can cast spells. There is another way, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So just for this example, I'm going to push this roll, right? So I'm going to push it. So there we go. It rolled everything except for what I wanted. I got 2 6s, which means I would have done 3 damage, but I also got 2 skulls. And you'll notice on my character, it automatically filled in my 2 willpower, and it knocked my strength down too, right? So any future longsword combat before I complete a rest is going to be at only 1 strength. I would have 1 melee, I'd have 2 dice for my sword, but I'm pretty much on my last legs at this moment, okay? So now I'm going to rest, which will recover all of my... should have recovered all my stuff. All my attributes should have came back. Did I not put them in the right place? That was 3... 3... Right, I want to say it was 3, 3, 5, 4? 5 and 4? 4? Is that what it was? Or is that wrong? Let's find out. So if I go to combat, let's see if this is working correctly. Yeah, that's what I thought. It says that I'm broken. So the stats were in the correct place. So let me rest. Let me clear all that stuff. There we go. So my stuff... Okay. So I need them in both columns, basically. All right. So I need to double check my my background to make sure that I did not screw this up. So hold on a second. Let me get to my childhood as a Altlander. Altlander. Asleen Altlander, and I was hard study, so 3354 is correct. All right, so you need them both here so that it'll reset. So I need to correct that on my companion as well. So obviously that's the first time I've done this. So when I hit rest, I was just as surprised as you when everything went to 0 and I lost everything. So let me put all this back. I don't want 40 there, and I want 3 there. All right. There we go. So now I can see my actual stuff. All right, so let me close this. So let's try this again, right? Let's go to the roll table right here. Let's go to the bottom. I took a rest, obviously. So we're going to go to combat again. We're going to do our longsword. We're going to roll it. It still gives me my 312. I'm surprised it gave... Well, I had 312 set. I just didn't have the recovery numbers set. So let's do my roll here again. It's giving me this roll here. So I have 0 successes again, right? So if we look at this again, I have 0 successes. I have 1 strength. Now, the important thing to note right here is as we journey, we will gain willpower. And this is important. After a rest, your willpower doesn't reset. You keep it. So if, for example, I had a couple days and I made a couple rolls here and I pushed a little of this, pushed a little of that, I could build up some willpower to have something to use in the future. But it does have a maximum. Willpower maxes out, obviously. You can't have unlimited willpower. Unlimited power. All right, so as it is, I need to push this roll. So I'm going to push it. And basically at the end of the day, I missed and I suffered another willpower. Now, I also took 1 hit of strength. So now it's recording appropriately. I have 2 strength currently. 3 is my normal. All right, so I'm going to hit rest again. For now, we're going to obviously zero out our willpower because only specific situations allow you to gain willpower. All right. So having said that, now I need to make some last-minute changes to my gear and stuff. So what I'm trying to figure out is how I buy additional food, water, and torches so that myself and Solga, we can get our traveling rations up to the point where I need them to be at, right? I want a little more food. I want a little more water. She's only got a D6, D6. I want to make sure we have a little bit more, but I need to know how I get more food and water. Oh, I did forget to tell you what these 3 special dice are. The D6, the D8, the D10. The D8, the D10, the D12. So what these are artifact dice. If you get something like a magic sword, etc. in this game, they will have artifact dice attached to them. Artifact dice cannot be damaged. So a magical sword technically can never be broken. And you'll always roll this artifact die with that piece of equipment. Now, it acts like a standard D6, except that higher values of that roll. Let me see if we have a item here. Player's Handbook. Let's see. Let's see if artifact is in here. Shields and armor. No. Negative. Let me close that down. Introduction, skills, talents, combat, and danger, magic, journey, stronghold, gear. I wonder if gear has artifacts in it. Well, here's supply. So let's look at supply real quick. Some goods and services are rare, and the adventurers can't expect to find everything they're looking for in any little village. Each item has a supply rating, which indicates its probability that it will run out over time. Whenever you use an item that has a quantity, food, water, arrows, and torches, you have to roll a d6 whenever you use it. And that will then, at the end of its use, that will tell you if you've run out or what have you, right? It'll never increase naturally. It'll only run out. Each item, the supply rating, which is probability. Common, the item is generally available. Uncommon, right? Roll if you roll a 4 or higher. D6 of the units are available, and rare, you have to roll a 6. All right, so that tells you the rarity of it, but it doesn't tell me how to determine in here how I need to get that. So I'm going to go look at my handbook up top, and we're going to go look at gear. Gear. There we go. Supply. Crafting, which is nice. Let me see here. Talents. So let's see. That's standard stuff there. Trade goods, food, water. All right. So I need to find out how I can increase my core supply. So it's called the supply is what it's called. So let me see if I can figure it out. So let me look at gear in the normal rules. Chance of success. You can use gear. Gear dice. Gear gets worn. Artifact dice. Pride. So that's artifact dice. Now let me see if that's here. So let me look under. Where is it here? It's underneath. It's before talent, so it's under skills. Let me see if it has gear here. Gear. Boom. Gear gets worn. Artifact dice. There we go. So let me display this for you all. Let me get my fat head out of the way. So here is, and in fact I'm going to turn off my roll window. Boom. So here is the artifact table. Okay. Artifact dice, any result of 6 or higher counts as a hit, but really high results on artifact dice count as additional hits. So on the D8, an 8 counts as 2, D10, etc., D12, etc. So artifact dice are very special. Gear only adds extra D6 normally. However, there are master-crafted artifacts and magic items that add D8, D10, D12 in addition to the normal gear dice. Artifact dice are never degraded by wear, so they'll never wear out. Rare items of this kind are described in the Game Master Guide. Items that give you artifact dice to roll are divided into 3 categories: mighty, epic, legendary. When you roll it, any die result of 6 or higher as per the table. So that's the artifact dice that we're talking about. So let's see here. Gear bonus is permanently decreased. If the gear bonus is reduced to 0, the attempt to repair fails permanently destroyed. Alright. So that's gear gets worn. Let's see. That's gear. Let's see here. Where is... Let's see. NPCs go... increased chance of success to use gear. Right. Got it. Commonly wear dice. There, right. Okay. Gear gets worn. When you get a skull on your gear dice, that's a chance of it decreasing, right? Etc. So how do I get to my supply? How do I find it? Let me see if I can do a search in my index. Let me go to supply. Can we have supply? Supply. Spell ranks. Supply, page 179. Alright, supply, here we go. It's under gear, which we talked about it already. 3 level 4 or higher, one of the D6 in the right. Each item lists supply ready when it is probably the adventure will find the item in a typical village. Some goods and services are rare, mentioning right, rare, etc. So what is the cost of supplies? So I need to find this out. So let's go to gear again. Which does nothing. So gear lists. Here we have trade good, transport, weapons, shields, armor, services and buildings, tools and raw materials. Right, here's our tools. Here's our raw materials. But there's not just food, right? And there's not just water, and there's not torches, although tools may have a torch. No. Trade goods probably have a torch, right? Lantern torches right there. Interesting. Last for a quarter day, and they cost 5 copper each. If I were to buy 1 copper, hey look, there's a sack. If I were to buy, but not a pack. Because a pack, you're supposed to get a pack for free. I'm assuming a pack is a backpack. But it doesn't have a pack anywhere else. Alright, so regardless, let me see here. Towel again, backpack, water skin. There's a water skin. Sleeping, flint, steel, lock builds. Field ration. There we go. Right? Field ration, 1 silver, common, normal, 1 meat, fish, or vegetables. Right? So that's a field ration. If I click on field ration, 1 unit of food. Increase the food resource by 1 dice step. Very nice. Alright. So at least I found that. Okay. So where's water by chance? Is there water? Water. Paralyzing, blah, blah, blah. Sleeping potions, blah, 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 blah. I'm not seeing water. But let's see what a torch has to say. There's a water skin. What's water skin say? Does not encumber the wearer. Oh, interesting. Well, it's counted as tiny. All right. Bandages are also considered light. They're considered light. Very good. All right. Let's see. Torches. All right. Increase the torch resource die 1 step. All right. And it costs 5 copper. All right. So at the minimum, I need food. So let's bring Aramis's character sheet up. He currently... Oh, this is Solga. Let me get Aramis here. Come here, Aramis. Alright, there's Aramis. He's got 9 silver. I would like to get my food all the way up to D12. So I need to spend 3 silver to get it to D12. So I'm going to spend that 3 silver to get my food up to D12. Because I want to make sure we got plenty of food. Alright. Torches were 5 coppers each. So I'm going to take it up to a D8, basically. So I'm going to spend 1 silver for the torches. Now water, I don't know. We've got to see if we can figure that out. So likewise, Solga is going to spend 3 silver. 1, 2, 3 to increase her food to D12. She also is going to spend 1 silver to get 2 torches worth. So we'll spend that silver. All right. So now I'm good on food and torches, at least somewhat on torches. Water I'm concerned with. I want to know how I can get more water, or where it is on the list, right? So water, skin, bandages, lamp oil, air quill, parchment, blanket, sleeping flint, lock bits, field rations, etc., 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 etc. Maps, spyglasses, scales, notes, flutes, poisons, blah, 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 blah. Alright, so those are the trade goods. Tools and raw materials. Is there just water in raw materials? No, there is not. And services and buildings. There's not really water here. Right? You can get a flag and a veil and things of that nature. And you can buy buildings, obviously, within a community if the buildings were for sale. Alright, so just because I don't want to give myself all the water in the world, I'm going to assume that water costs 5 silver as well. Or 5 copper as well. So a copper and a half will take me up to D12 on Solga. So 2 silver, which leaves me her with 5 copper right there. And then for Aramis, same thing. Let's get him up to D12. And we're going to spend 2 silver and get 5 copper back. All right. And the units of exchange are 10, 10, 10, right? So 10 copper equals 1 silver, 10 silver equals 1 gold. 10 gold mean nothing. Don't worry about it. All right. So apparently these things encumber you, because I'm looking at our encumbrance right here. Her encumbrance is 8. My encumbrance is 6, and I'm over encumbered. Alright. So, having known this to begin with, I was sincerely considering getting a mount. Or at least Solga could get a mount. So let's look at items here. Right here in the core game, we've got gear. And within the gear, we've got animals. And within the animals, we've got ourselves a donkey, which costs, craft and supply, which costs 6 silver. A donkey, sea donkey. Donkey has a strength of 3, so it has a 6 carry. Now, from what I understand, they can carry more normally than a person can, from what I understand. Let me take a look at the soul expansion. Companions. Companions are actually the legends. I guess the player's handbook. Let me look at encumbrance. There we go. Encumbrance, gear, heavy, other encumbrance, mounts. If you have a horse or other mount, you can let it carry some of your gear. The animal can carry a number of normal items equal to its strength doubled, and twice that mount number if you dismount it. So if you don't mount a donkey based off of its stats, it technically can carry 12 gear worth of gear. All right. So I'm seriously considering purchasing a donkey, but that means we've got to take a donkey wherever we're going, right? Oh my goodness. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Donkey? Donkey, what do you have to say? Nothing there. If I look at donkey, does it have any notes? Anything particular I need to worry about? Kick. It has the ability to kick, which is interesting. Alright. It has no wits or empathy, obviously. Alrighty. And I can do it right. Alright. Alright. For now, I'm just going to assume that I have my stuff. And we have not got a donkey as of yet. We're going to start donkeyless. Alright. So having said that, I need to find a set of cards. I'll be right back because I do have card sets. Unmute, turn my camera back on, boom. Hey look, I'm back. I got a set of cards. It's currently 8:11, so we got a little while to play here. So we're going to try and see what's going on. Alright, so I have a steampunk deck of cards. There's another deck of cards that I would have rather preferred to use, but we'll use the Steam Deck cards, it's fine. Alright. There. Let me make sure that I do have the Forbidden Lands box here. Let me make sure there just isn't happening to be a set of cards in here. So we have the Surprise Game Master's Guide. Hello. The books, by the way, beautiful, from Free League Press for this game. There we go. We have the Player's Handbook. Yoink. We have the Legends and Adventures book, which is the item that has the life path in it for you to do life path growth. And then we have a very large double-sided map, which is basically the map that you can see on the screen. I have it. The map itself is double-sided. Only half of the map is on one, and you have to flip it over for the other half. There's also little stickers here that are used to place points of interest on the map as you explore. Now, having said that, just so you guys know, let me show you this right here. Those same stickers are right here. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? Can I move that sticker? Can I select it? I have no clue. I'll have to figure out how to do that. But the stickers are there. The stickers are also present on this map. I just haven't determined how to interact with them. Now, what's going to happen based on my legend that I have, when we move, we're going to attempt to get to this forest, and there will be a cave in this forest. That's my legend. That's my adventure. As we've already discussed, as I journey, I will learn additional legends, which will lead to other adventures, things of that nature. Now, the map isn't technically Fog of War. Alright? But you have to be able to make it to these points of interest. I could go over to this little tower for here. I have no clue what that tower represents. It's a point of interest, obviously. There's also Falander right here. No clue. It's ruins, apparently. So there's some building down here as well. No clue what any of this stuff represents. Now, the important thing is you cannot cross a river except over a ford when you hike. Now, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's figure out what the weather and things of that nature are before we progress with our day. It may be that I'm stuck on the shore of the Tin in my little tent with Solga, and we're just staring at each other while horrible weather goes on outside. Alright? So we will see what we shall see. Alright, shuffle, shuffle, zibba dibba. Alright, so you can't see this. Let me see if I can put this down for you. Expanded journeys. Alright, let me go to the weather. Weather. There it is. Alright. So let me show you this. I guess I'll bring the whole screen down here. Alright. So here are the expanded weather tables, right? So the first card is going to give me the type of wind that's present is going to be based on the number or face, and then the suit is going to determine whether it's raining or not, right? So having said that, we're going to flip this up right here, and it looks like we've got ourselves an 8 of spades. So an 8 is a light breeze, and spades is heavy rain. All right, so we are currently in light breeze, heavy rain. Now the next item we have to figure out is what is the temperature. All right, this is a second card, as you can see. So we've got to draw a second card, and based on that card, it's going to tell me something else. So that card is a 2 of hearts, it appears. So hearts, a 2 is mild, no effect. It's just the number. The suit doesn't matter. So it's a mild day. But it's got heavy rain, which sucks. -2 modification to lead the way. Hiking for a quarter day requires an endurance roll. When there is a storm and heavy rain, it's negative. The endurance roll is made with a -2 modifier. All right, so I get -2 to my lead the way when we hike, and we are not going to get a -2 to our endurance roll. So we just lose some modification to my lead the way. All right, so having said that, let me move this back. I'll need to see if I can't maybe create a I want to say these tables that are here in the solo expansion, there was a file path that was given here to the tables, the URL for the tables, that will assist you in adding those tables into Foundry. I haven't worked out how that happens yet exactly, so I need to figure that out myself, and then I'll be able to add it to the table. Alright, so we're going to unpause the game, doesn't matter. We're going to make a note on this day, right here. The new note is weather. Weather. Alright, and the details are note never repeats, I can review the note, etc., etc., etc. Alright, so as we indicated, it is a light breeze with heavy rain, mild temperatures. There we go. So I'll save that note. Alright. So so I can close this. How do I bring that note back up? So I'm on that day. If I click this note, it should bring it up again. I want to view that note, and light breeze, heavy rain, mild temperatures. Very good. So we're going to close that. All right. And we're going to close our note there. Perfect. Okay, perfect. All right. So when you travel, we're going to hike. Alright, so let's go into the player's handbook. We're going to journey. Okay? When you journey, what you have to do is the day is broken into 4 quarters. In the spring, which is what we are, there is light during 2 of those quarters and dark during the other 2. So how I'm picturing the day is it's a 24-hour day on this world. And we have 6 hours per quarter day, obviously. the morning, I'm assuming, goes 6 to noon. Daytime goes noon to 6. Evening, 6 to midnight. Midnight to 6 is nighttime, right? That's how I'm picturing the days kind of breaking up in my mind, because morning being midnight doesn't work, right? So the days kind of spill into each other, but for the purposes of the game, a day, Earth Day, is broken into morning, daytime, evening, nighttime. Now, you have a number of actions you can make when you do each quarter of the day, and every individual in your party can take part in those actions, okay? One of the actions is hike, and this must be done by everybody, regardless of whether they want to. If you want to go anywhere in the game, you have to hike, okay? Hike is the only action where you can take an additional action at the same time, which is either lead the way or keep watch. Lead the way is how you get from one hex to another in the game. If you fail to lead the way, you don't find a way out of the hex, basically, or you have a misfortune, is what happens. If I go to lead the way, does it give me the mishap? Basically, it's called a mishap if you fail to lead the way. All right, quarter of the day. All right. The second item is keep watch. It can be combined with hike, and one adventurer in the group is allowed to keep watch. And they're basically keeping an eye out for anything they see on the horizon, anything that may come and interact with us. If you don't keep watch and you end up in an encounter, you're surprised you're in that encounter. You don't have a choice. If you keep watch and succeed at your keep watch while hiking, then you get to choose potentially how you interact with that encounter, right? You can potentially run away, you can choose not to do the encounter, but that's the purpose of keeping watch. So lead the way. What lead the way does is every time you move on the map, you must appoint one person to lead the way. This individual is called the Pathfinder. Pathfinder can lead the way and hike at the same time, but they cannot keep watch. Usually the same person will act as a Pathfinder for the entire quarter. So when it says the entire quarter, what's going on is when you move on the map, depending on the terrain, you can move at a specific speed. So that normal speed on foot is 2 hexagons in a single quarter of the day, right? If it's difficult terrain, it's 1 hexagon. The terrains are defined by this table right here. We are in the plains, it is open terrain. We get a -1 forage, but a +1 on hunt, and I'll explain that as we progress through the day. But one of the things to also remember is that Spring Rise, by default, has a -1 forage. So technically, foraging right now during Spring Rise is -2. So keep that in mind. You have the terrain modifier as well as the time of year modifier. And that modifier can affect foraging specifically, right? Foraging becomes better during, it reduces to 0 during Summer Rise, and it increases by +1 during Fall Rise, but it reduces to -2 during Winter Rise. Forage is nuts and berries, right? That's foraging. There's also hunting, which is where you try to hunt creatures, and you can get meat and pelts. Now, that's one of the actions that you can take during the quarter day. I'll explain those after we finish our hike. So it's the morning. Aramis and Solga have packed up their camp. It's been a nice, pleasant day. We now want to head north. All right. So the first thing you do is you need to make. I need to just move this. I can't. So let me close this. All right. The first thing you need to do is you need to roll to see if you can even move to the next hex. You have to make that lead the way roll before you even move, because based on that roll, that's going to determine whether or not you make any progress. All right. So the very important thing we've learned already is that it's heavy rain, right? And the heavy rain, solo expansion, the heavy rain means I get a -2 modifier to leading the way. All right. So leading the way is... let's go to main. What is lead the way? How do you make a lead the way roll, right? So I'm looking at my character. Well, I don't see lead the way. How do I do a lead the way roll? Well, let's find out. We're in our journeys here, so we want to lead the way. Okay. Every time you enter a new hexagon on the map, Pathfinder makes a survival roll, modified by the Pathfinder talent, which he does not have. Success means you find a viable path in the hexagon and you move on without any problem. Failure means you still enter the hex, but you suffer a mishap and must immediately roll on the next page mishap. So we will find the mishap table here in a minute, but there's specific tables. There's in the solo adventure expanded rules, there is a better table for journeying, okay? But the mishap table is automatically dependent on it has its own default. The mishap table is its own thing when you journey and you fail. And the mishap table, I believe there's an expanded mishap table. Expanded encounters. Where is it? Is it in the... But it's not in the player's handbook, is it? Let me look at journeys. Journeys, keep watch, lead the way, table, lead the way. There's the mishap table. It's in the player's handbook under leading the way mishaps, basically. But I swear there's a better mishap table that's based on the terrain, but that could be the encounter table. Let me open that up real quick. In fact, let me look at rollable tables, right? So in the core game, you have mishaps, right? So fishing, foraging, so there is a lead the way mishap table. So we could just roll that, and we'll see what happens here in just a second. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm looking at. There's rollable tables in Foundry VTT. I can roll on those tables. All right, so we've learned that I have to make a survival roll. So let's open up our roll window right here. Boop, there's our roll window. All right, so I need to make a survival roll. So we're going to go to Aramis, who needs to make his own roll, and Solga is going to keep watch. So Aramis has survival 1. Let's take a look at this, right? So Solga has survival 3. Interesting. And survival is based on wits, and she's got a 4 wits, which is pretty good. Aramis has a wits of 5 with survival 1. So I've got 6 dice. She has 7 dice. All right. So scouting is the other item when we move, right? That takes wits again. That's 5. Her scouting is 5. So it probably actually makes sense for Solga to lead the way and Aramis to keep watch. So that's what we're going to do. So Solga is going to make a survival roll. Now she does have a modifier of -2, right? Because we already determined that. What does that do? How did that do anything? It didn't change anything. If I just put a 2 there, is that changing anything? I don't know. If I put a 5 there, does that change anything? No. Alright, so let's do a -2 modifier, and let's see what happens. We're just going to make a roll. So Solga makes a roll to survive with her -2 modifier. That survival roll, she had, as we said, she had -2, so -2 on survival. And she rolled all of her wits dice. Unfortunately, she received no 6s. So the problem with having Solga lead, here's the problem, Solga cannot push. So Solga failed to lead. So we will enter the next hex, but we are going to enter it and have a mishap. So the next thing I want to do is I do need Aramis to make his scouting roll to see if we will potentially be ambushed. Now Aramis does not get a negative due to the weather. The weather only affects the lead the way roll with a -2 modifier. All right. So he is just going to make his standard scouting roll to see if he sees anything. He has rolled a pair of 6s, so he's good. I do not need to push. Now, in case you've been paying attention, you could get 1s on that initial roll. Any 1s that show up on the initial roll, as long as you don't push it, do not cause an effect. They don't give you any willpower either unless you push. So 1s mean nothing on the initial roll. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. So for now, we're saying it's good. So now that I've pushed, we have made progress to this hex. All right. So the thing I want to do is I need to draw something on the map. I'm going to draw just a little square. Sure, we're going to draw a rectangle. We're just going to put a little rectangle. And what's going on here? Draw a rectangle. Click and drag. Yeah. Click and drag. All right. So maybe not a rectangle. I guess I could put a rectangle. Now, the reason I'm putting this rectangle, do I want a rectangle or a circle? Let's delete this. So let's delete that item right there. So let's do a circle, right? Let's put it right in the middle. Let's open it up. Yoink. We're going to put it right in the middle of the hex. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because when you've explored a hex, when you've been in a hex, when you attempt to go back, it's easier to travel over land that you've already traveled before, if that makes any sense, right? So, bing, bang, boom. So I have done that. I've explored that. Now we've entered here. Now we have a mishap, right? So let's go to our roll table. We're going to, I'll leave my roll table up here. You can see that. We've got a mishap, leading the way mishap. I'm going to open this table up. Isn't there, I could have swore there was a way to just straight up roll it. No? Alright. So I'm going to roll on the mishap table. Boom. And we're going to see what we see. So that mishap is, let's go to the bottom, blocked terrain. Draw results from lead the way mishap. The way forward is blocked by rocks, fallen trees, thick shrubbery, or flooding, depending on the terrain type in the hex. You must roll might or move to be able to move forward. If you fail, you suffer 1 point of damage to strength and must roll again. Anyone who rolls successfully can help anyone who did not. You won't make any progress on the map during this quarter day. Alright, so hold on a second. The way forward is blocked. You must make a might or move to be able to move forward. Alright, so if you fail, you suffer 1 point. Anyone who rolls 6, they can help anyone who do not. You won't make any progress on the map during this quarter day. So do I not make progress regardless of whether I'm successful or not? It doesn't seem that way. It seems that I have to make my roll, and if I fail, I make no progress that quarter day, which would be interesting. Alright, so using the solo rules, that means Aramis himself is going to need to make a might roll, and he is going to get aid from Solga. So aiding another player, right? So aiding players, let me go to the index. Let me see if I can find aid or helping. Where is it? Help from other players, page 48. All right. So help from other players is under the journeying rules, I believe. So let's go here. Let's see if I can show you what's going on. Player's Handbook, Journeys. Make lamps, lead the way, darkness, keep watch. Maybe it's not. It's on page, what page am I on? I'm on page 4849. I am nowhere near that in the book. I'm under skill rolls, aren't I? Skills, yes. Alright, so let me go to skills. Boop. Close this. Let me get to helping from others. There we go. Other PCs can help you succeed at a skill roll. This must be declared right away before you roll the dice. It must also make sense in the story. The individual helping you must be physically present and have the capacity to support your action. The GM has final say. For each person helping, you get a +1 modifier. No more than 3 people can help you. with a single roll, meaning your maximum modification from assistance is +3. In combat, helping others, blah, 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 blah. All right, so this is where it gets a little interesting, right? You must roll might. So it says you must roll. So the person leading the way, but in order to honor the solo rules, I should be the one that makes the roll. So I am going to attempt to make a might roll, and I get +1 because Solga will help me, and we need to see if we can clear this terrain. So making a might roll right there. Ooh, so we did not succeed, and I rolled a 1. So I'm already taking a 1 strength failure right here. All right, so I am going to push it. Now, here's something that you need to remember. If you get enough failures that your strength goes to 0, then something bad's going to happen. But I'm going to push it. So there we go. Let's see if we can get a 6. We got a 6, but I did suffer 2 strength damage in order to make progress on this quarter day. All right. So we got, what I am going to say is that if you fail, you make no progress for the quarter day. But I am going to, this is interesting. What happens if I do that? Nothing. All right. What I am going to say is if you do make that strength roll, that you clear the way, but you spent half your day clearing it. So you can't make your full progress in a day, but at the minimum you will go 1 hex. So we have gone 1 hex ahead. Now the question is there something that we're going to run into? So every time you enter a hex, regardless of a mishap, you need to roll on the table, basically. Not a roll, you have to draw a card to see what potentially will occur. I need to get this expanded encounters table on here so you guys can see what happens when these rolls occur. Instead, I'm going to use the dice. I need to... I don't know how I can... I mean, I can show you the table, right? So let me... Actually, you know what? Hold on a minute. Let me see what we can do here real quick. We're going to go to... We're going to add another scene here. Boop. And it's going to come from a display. Right. Boom. And it's going to be PDF view. PDF view. Right. Okie dokie. And we're going to say it comes off my HDMI. Thank you very much. We're going to do some cropping here. So cropping the top, we're going to take about 200 of that off. Well, maybe not 200. Let's do 100. There we go. Maybe 150. There we go. And then crop left, we're going to make that about 100. Make that 200 because you got to trim off that 50. There we go. And then crop right doesn't really matter. Crop bottom doesn't really matter. We'll hit OK. We're going to put that right in the middle of the screen. So there we go. All right. So now you're looking at the expanded encounters table, which is PDF view. And it's covering my face up, so you have that to look forward to. I could reduce this further so you just see the single page. If I have all these on the same, why does that one have spreads, and that one has spreads, and that one doesn't? All right, I'll have to change the view and maybe see if I can't revise this a little bit. But for now, this is going to do what I need it to do. You can now see the expanded random encounters. Probably have to squint a little because obviously it may look a little, it may be a little too reduced for you. I'll see about expanding that in the future here. All right, so here we have the expanded encounters table, and based on the draw of the roll, that's going to tell me to go somewhere, right? Game Master's Guide, Book of Beasts, BOB stands for Book of Beasts. GMG is Game Master's Guide. So you can see it's everything from a random encounter from one of those books to a general encounter from one of those books to a village, dungeon, and or castle. All right. So let me get these dice. I don't want to just ad nauseum flip these right here. Let me camera. Let me order. Let me move to the top right there. So now you can see me. There you go. You can see the table, you can see me, so we're all good. So now I'm going to flip a card up. Booyah, 2 of clubs. Alright, so the 2 of clubs is a random encounter from the Book of Beasts. So now we're going to say, let's see what our roll tables are. Do we have a Book of Beasts? Random encounters. Do we have Book of Beast random encounter? Oh, we do have Book of Beasts right there. Random encounters. Booyah. Alright, and we are in the plains. So I can do a random encounter from the Book of Beasts. I thought the roll tables, I could hit the die next to the roll table and that would produce the results, but apparently not. Alright, so let me close off the PDF view for you. You can now see the result here, but let me give you the result on this side. I'm going to roll on the Random Encounters Book of Beast table. Let's take a roll right here. Booyah. So, the Ferocious Battle. So this is an encounter on the Plains table within the Book of Beasts. So now I need to see what is that encounter. So in the Book of Beasts, the random encounters, this was it was called the Ferocious Battle. So I need to find the Ferocious Battle here. No encounter, blah, 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 blah. Interesting. So I'm going to have, So I'm going to have a massive encounter, very first hex, injured strength after standing in the pouring rain. So this could be a very short day 1 for Aramis and his companion. Alright, so the first thing you notice are the carrion birds greedily circling a place further ahead. There are so many of them that they form a small cloud of black feathers and bad omens. Then you hear it, metal hitting metal, the deep and rhythmic beating of drums, roars of rage and pain. Now remember, I succeeded at my scout roll, so we're going to get to that in a minute. Colorful pennants and fluttering banners of war appear above the treetops. For a moment, they disappear behind the rain of black arrows, followed by heavy thuds. The screams and drums grow louder, as do the resounding, frantic clangs of axes meeting swords and metal shields. Alright, so we're going to read this right here, okay? The adventurers have stumbled into a ferocious battle. So you're going to know everything like I do, and then we have to make an oracle decision as to what we're going to do. And we can use the character's pride and dark secret, right? He's read many books, and you know the ways of the world, okay? Alright, the adventurers have stumbled into a ferocious battle between belligerent orcs of the Isir clan and a division of Merominian dwarves from the army of the warlord Tormund. It is a skirmish rather than a full-scale battle, with about 50 warriors on either side. Both orcs and the dwarves are consumed with bloodlust and extremely dangerous to be around. Consequently, adventurers who interfere in the fighting risk being attacked by both sides. But if they distinguish themselves in battle, for example, by killing a prominent warrior, they may be offered employment as mercenaries by the opposite side once the fighting is over. Merominian dwarves and Isser orcs are known to treat skilled warriors with respect, but elven PCs would live dangerously as mercenaries in an orcish army. I'm human. Solga is a goblin, obviously. If the adventurers search the corpses on the outskirts of the battlefield, you can let them roll twice on the table for carried valuable finds. However, this comes with the risk of being captured by provosts from either side who are patrolling the area with D6 soldiers in search of looters, deserters, and other dishonorable scum. My wife just spit at me. Very good. See stats for Merominium and Isser. Terrain types, forest, dark forest, plains, hills. So we're in the plains. Alright. So we have a choice. We have 3 choices, technically. Do we just, thank you, no thank you, we're going that way? right? Do we, let me close my roll window. Do we search the corpses on the outskirts and see if we can come away with some loot? Or do we stand up and challenge a prominent Myrmidian or Isser Orc? Right? That's the question before us. Now, based on Aramis's pride, he's read many books and I know the way of the world. Not really informed. The knowing the way of the world is that if we were to win at battle, right, then we would potentially be hired on by one of the other, right? Whichever side, okay? And I'm always yearning for more magical power, and it's stronger than anything else, that yearning. But I'm not really seeing an option for magical power here unless there's a dead sorcerer or something lying around that has something on it that may be worthwhile. Now, I have no clue what is on the carried valuable finds table. No clue. Okay? And cover the risk of being captured by provost officers patrolling the area in search of looters. All right. So we would, if we were to do that, we would have to, is there like a stealth skill? There is a stealth skill, right? So we'd have to roll stealth against my agility and succeed to not be spotted by these people while we're searching through the bodies. All right, so we've got 15 minutes to make a choice here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Oracle, basically. So we're looking at the Oracle deck right here, Oracle hand. All right, so the Oracle, which is in the Book of Beasts. So Book of Beasts, solo rules. We have the Oracle. Where's the playing card for the Oracles? All right, so the Oracle deck, the Oracle hand is here for us to use, right? Or a real deck if you have one on hands. I do have a real deck, so I could. All right. There are 4 suits, the whole 9 yards. The core of it is go with your gut. What do I want to do? If my strength was full, along with my weapons, etc., I have no clue what either one of those NPC stats are. So I have no clue how tough that fight potentially could be, right? But I'm also injured. Yes, Solga could assist me, right? Give me +1, but I'd basically be rolling 1 strength dice. Aramis's melee skill is... His melee skill is 0, or is 1, and I get 2 from that. So I'd be rolling 4 dice. That's not exactly a guaranteed success every time, right? It's basically a... What is it? On one day, 1 is 6. It's a third. It's a you know, it's close to a guaranteed success. And with a, if I were to push it, there's a chance I could get a success. But there's also a chance, since I have 1 strength, that I'm going to die if that were to occur. Now, I do think my capability of stealth with my current agility is such that maybe I could get away with digging around and finding something, and then we can skedaddle, right? Now, I'm going to get a bonus from Solga, if depending on what the Oracle comes up here. So, I don't believe running away is the option, right? So, we have, let's see, helpful hazards, no, theme. I wonder, in a situation where you find yourself, perhaps a general encounter doesn't make much sense at first. All right, so we're gonna do the theme roll, right, and see if that gives us any information. So let me draw a card right here. So the theme roll is the 7 of spades. Very good. So we got a 7 and we got spades. And what does that tell me? Deception. All right. So that tells me that if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be the sneaky option to try and get some stuff. All right, so with that in mind, we're going to go up to our Oracle, and it's the odds are likely. So I'm going to draw 2 cards to take the most positive result. So am I going to, let's see, yes. So Okay, yes, no. So what are we saying here? We draw 2 and take the most positive. All right, so card number 1 is a black, which is a no. And it's an ace, exceptionally no. I don't want to die. And then the other one is a 2 of spades, which is maybe, but the result is not clear. Oh my goodness. All right, so you know what? Obviously, no risk, no reward. So we are, since we've only got a few more minutes here before I have to call it quits for the evening, we are going to attempt to get something. All right. So I get a +1 bonus from Solga. She's kind of keeping an eye while we're skulking around, digging around here. So I'm going to make a roll. And I got a 1. All right. So currently we are not succeeding, which means we're going to be discovered. Okay. And we got nothing. So I'm going to push it. So we're going to push it here. Wow. So I lost 2 agility. And surprise, surprise, a provost and his soldiers capture us. All right. Now the question is, were we captured by the, let's see, however this comes, the risk of being captured by provosts from either side who are patrolling the area. Search of looters, deserters, and other dishonorable scum. We would fall into the dishonorable scum category. All right. So what I'm going to say is that I need to 50-50 to see who it is who captured us, the Myrmidons or the Isser, right? So we're just going to literally draw a card, and we're going to say red is the Myrmidons, Myrmanians, and black is the Isser. So dwarves, orcs. It appears to be the Myrmanians. All right, so the dwarves capture us. Alrighty, so I'm going to say that is pretty much going to end our first day. We're captured. The fight continues. When the fight is at an end, at the end of the day, when the sun goes down, they are then going to pass judgment on us. So we're going to figure out what that is in the next game. If anybody watched, which may be 0 at this point in time, I hope you enjoyed what happened so far. In my journal, let's make a journal right here. Let's go to our journal, Journey of Aramis. So we're going to edit this. All right, so it is spring. I need to get rid of this because we know what it is. It's 1165 AS, Earth Day. It is spring, 1st of Earth Day. It is, let's do this right. It is spring rise. It is the 1st of spring rise, Earth Day. In the fields of Mirgalda. The weather is what it is. All right. Came across a great battle. Helps if I can spell across correctly. Came across a great battle between Romanian dwarves and Isser not block terrain. Where was it? Come on. Did I already lose my table result? I did. Alright, it was the Great Battle, which was listed in the Book of Beasts, Random Encounters, a Ferocious Battle, there we go, between Isser. Yeah, Isser orcs. Alright, so let me close that. Came across... Hello. And Isser orcs attempted to loot from corpses on the fringe and were captured by dwarven provosts, by dwarven provosts. Our fate is now to be determined on the morrow. Alright, so I have an idea what I want to do, because I obviously want the game to keep going, and I don't want them to be just killed out of hand. So the first thing is, we did search, right? We... random encounters. We did look for carried valuables. So I get 2 rolls on the carried valuable finds table. So let me go to the Game Master's Guide. Let's see. Artifacts, encounters, venturing. Let me just see if there is a carried finds table. Core game, treasures and finds. It was valuable carried finds. Carried valuable finds. I get 2 rolls on that table. So we're going to make those 2 rolls here real quick. That doesn't mean we get to keep them. It just means that 2 items were there. So we got a silver mug and 10 silver coins. Alright. So let me put that in my note. We found a silver mug worth 3 silver. And 10 actual silver. Alright, so my day's over. And what I'm going to say is, while I'm waiting, they're pretty much just keeping us off to the side, keeping a watch on us until somebody more important can come along and decide our fate. Okay? What that does mean is that we're left to our own devices in regards to eating our own food. Every day of travel, you must use some of your rations, and that's the food and or water that's down at the bottom. So they don't take our stuff from us, but they basically say, hey, if you have food, good luck on you, right? So what that means is now I have to roll. If I roll anything except a 1, then my food stays at D12. Okay, so I'm going to roll my food right here. Boom. Make a roll, and I roll a 2. Alright, so what that means is that my food does not decrease. It does decrease. Okay, I think a 1 or a 2 means it decreases. So that sucks. So we didn't have any chance to try and replenish it. And then I also have to drink once per day, and 4 is good. My water does not decrease. Now, Solga, she eats her food, and she gets an 11, so she's good. Her food doesn't decrease, and she drinks her water, and boom, she's good. Her water doesn't decrease. So Aramis, in his exasperated and bedraggled state because of my encumbrance. In fact, we didn't even look at encumbrance. Let me go to the player's handbook. Let me go to... is it under gear? Is that where encumbrance is? No. It's under journeys? No. It's going to be under creating your character. Your adventurer. Encumbrance. There we go. Alright. So over encumbered. You can temporarily carry more than your normal encumbrance. Strength times 2. In this case, you need to make a roll for endurance whenever you run in a round of combat or hike for a quarter day. If the roll fails, you must either drop what you're carrying or stay where you are, or suffer 1 point of damage to agility. Alright. So I already took my damage to my agility. My agility. I should have made that roll at the start of the day before we even did our first hike, is what should have happened. And that probably would have informed my decision about whether or not I was going to actually fight in a battle, right? But Solga will help me with my endurance roll in order to do that hike. So let's come here. Let's go to my main. Let me go to endurance, which is strength. Interesting. If you fail your endurance, you suffer a point of agility. Drop your character or suffer 1 point of agility damage. Interesting. What's my agility at? I'll basically, if my damage... You know what? It's 8:59. We're going to resolve this in tomorrow. It's my first mistake, so I'm just going to accept it as is. But I should have made an endurance roll, and then based on that endurance roll, I probably would have suffered some agility damage. That endurance roll should have been at my maximum strength. All right, so let me make a roll real quick. Right, let me do endurance, and I have a +3 modifier because Solga is assisting me with carrying my stuff. Let me go to my roll table here. Let's turn on the roll window, and let's see if I would have made it, right? So I would have had to have pushed my endurance, and that push came up with nothing, right? So I would have suffered another point of agility is what would have happened, but as of now, we can't do that because I would have suffered the agility damage during the stealth, right? I have a ton of willpower, but I would have taken it during the stealth. So hold on a second. Combat damage. All right. Damage. Close combat, slow actions, fast action, range, darkness, weapon attributes, damage and recovery. Damage. All right. Damage. Suffering damage. All right. So you have your armor, etc., for suffering damage. And then based on the stat that reaches 0, it determines this. So I'm going to say my agility went to 0. So I collapse from exhaustion. I can only crawl and wheeze. You can't perform any other actions, and you can't roll for any skills. So basically, after they captured us and we dug around in those bodies for a while, I became fully exhausted. So I took another point of agility damage. I became completely exhausted. I'm broken, technically, and that's where we're going to start off at the next game. Thank you all for joining me on this first day of the game. But currently we find Aramis captured by dwarves after moving 1 hex, traveling, clearing out some rubble in order to make progress, stumbles across a massive battle between dwarves and orcs, and is captured by some dwarven outrunners. Alright, we got a little stuff. Solga's happy for that. But what's probably going to happen at the start of the next game, the next time I'm able to play, is I'm probably going to have to trial by combat is probably going to be my fate. I will need to fight in a battle, and I will have to fight a Myrminian. That's the only true option at this point that I can see. Other than just unceremoniously killing Aramis. That's the end of Aramis' story. Thanks for watching. We'll start with a new character next time. No, I don't want to do that. So we're going to go with a trial by combat with Myrminian, or maybe an orc captive. And whichever of us survives the combat is the one that keep going on. Ooh, that's even better. I like that. So we need to keep that in mind for the next time we do this adventure. Otherwise, thank you for watching. This has been Infinite Aaron, and I've been playing Forbidden Lands solo RPG campaign. All of this game is available at Free League Publishing. I do not have any affiliate links or anything like that. I will try to add some additional links in the streaming comments later on when I get a chance. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and